Today I fucked up by dropping one of the sharpest blades in existence. This happened about 30 years ago when I was doing my PhD in tissue biology. A little background: in the lab we use something called microtome blades. For those that don't know, it's a blade that is so sharp it's used to create 1 micron thin slices of tissues that are literally less than 1 cell layer thick to be studied under a microscope. So yeah, pretty sharp. They weigh a little more than a small kitchen knife, taper out toward the non-cutting end so they can be sharpened for many years. I was taking it back to the lab after it was just sharpened, and usually we carry it in a special container, partly for safety, but also if it gets dropped the vibrations will create microscopic bends/fractures in the blade that cause it to cut unevenly and the blade is essentially ruined. As fate would have it, I forgot to bring the case and was too lazy to go back across campus to get one, so I just carried the blade by hand. Another detail is that since day one of working with these blades, it is indoctrinated in us that we are to never drop them, because they are very expensive to replace. Nowadays they are cheaper to manufacture and even come as disposables, but back in 1980s money it was several $100 and it would delay your research by several weeks while a new one was shipped. With that in mind, as I entered the main hallway of the biology department, the blade slipped out of my hand and, in a split second, I reached down to catch it, maybe after it fell about 1 foot. Unfortunately I caught the blade sharp side down and it instantly severed 3 tendons in the palm of my hand. I immediately noticed I couldn't close my index finger, middle finger, and ring finger. It was very strange, because there was very little blood at first, but after 5 seconds bright red blood started pouring down my hand. Before I knew it, the white tile floor of the hallway I was standing on had a rapidly spreading pool of blood. It all happened so fast I hadn't fully comprehended what I was experiencing. Another fortuitous part of this story is that one of the anatomy professors saw all this happen and immediately rushed over to hold pressure on my radial and ulnar arteries to control the bleeding. I ended up having surgery to reattach the arteries and the tendons. After waking up after surgery I was relieved, but noticed they had a blood bag connected to my fore. The nurse said I lost quite a bit of blood and had to be transfused during the surgery. Wish this was the part of the story where I tell you that I had an uneventful recovery. However, after the surgery I started having severe fevers and chills, terrible back pain, my urine was a muddy dark brown color, and I could barely catch my breath. Turns out the lab person who drew my blood mislabeled the tubes and I was transfused with the wrong blood type. I ended up staying in the ICU for a week, almost had complete kidney failure and had severe pulmonary edema. I vividly remember the doctor saying that my kidneys were most likely in complete failure and I would have to have lifelong dialysis or a transplant. Fortunately they caught the transfusion reaction before most of the blood was infused and I never had to start dialysis. Too long didn't read. Dropped one of the sharpest blades in existence, caught it before it hit the ground, it severed most of the tendons and arteries in my hand. In the hospital I was given the wrong blood type, survived severe pulmonary edema, and almost lost both of my kidneys in the process. Holy fuck, now I fear bleeding out, needing a transfusion and getting the wrong blood type. Glad you're okay, Op. Thankfully, getting the wrong type of blood is not as common as it used to be. They now bent to check it before, putting it in a person. When my grandpa was in hospital he had 4 different nurses check his info in the blood bag. All I could think about while reading this is Kramer with his meat slicer. Cut slices so thin I couldn't even see them. Elaine, how do you know you cut it? Kramer, well I guess I just assumed. They say sharp tools are safe tools, but maybe only up to a point. A falling blade has no handle. It's crazy how much faith you put in medical professionals, and if they make even a tiny mistake, like mislabeling, it could be fatal. When my sister was 3 or 4 she had surgery to correct her toes which were growing on top of one another. The nurse weighed her incorrectly and wrote down a weight that was far heavier than her. My mum saw it on the notes and forced them to re-weigh her. If they didn't she would have been pumped with way too much anesthetic and probably died. I broke a bone in each arm, wrist in left, elbow in the right, a few years ago at the same time, and was getting surgery to get them fixed up. They bring you a form to sign right before they wheel you in to put you under, going over the procedure and where it's being performed. Lo and behold, they had accidentally written right wrist right elbow. When I mentioned the mistake and told the doctor the correction, they handed it back saying left wrist right elbow. Had to explain again that my right wrist wasn't broken. Big yikes. Edit. The amount of replies I'm getting where people were in the same situation is absolutely whack. I understand everyone makes mistakes, but goddamn haha. A falling knife has no handle. This is solidly the most fundamental kitchen/lab/workshop safety rule in existence. Today I fucked up. I automated my job and then got caught. This happened a few years ago. I was pretty efficient at my job, and faster than my colleagues at getting reports done. We mostly wrote reports which had the same calculations and said very similar things. So I created a large database, linked it to Microsoft Excel, let Excel calculate everything for me, automate various sentences for me, and then export it to Microsoft Word. The end result: in only 2 hours I could push out what took my colleagues 8 hours. I decided to work only 2.5 hours a day, spending the other 5 doing anything I wanted to: YouTube, day trading, reading up investments, or looking at silly memes. It was awesome. One day a colleague took a romantic interest in me, since I had nothing better to do and was single for a while, so I gave it an honest shot. The relationship went fairly well. She was lovely, really smart, but like me really lazy too, except that didn't seem to bother that her work performance was close to the bottom of the pack. In order to both impress her and help her, I showed her what I do, and how it could be used to speed up her work. She didn't seem to take an interest at the time. After some time I broke up with her. We tried our best, but I wasn't feeling it as much as she was, and I felt it would be better to end it sooner than later. She was already saying she loves me. I wasn't even close to using the word love. The breakup seemed somewhat peaceful. 2 days later I got called in HR at work for a disciplinary hearing. To my horror I was presented with screenshots of my activity of the previous days, memes, trading activity, news reading, YouTube, and even a tally of how much hours I actually worked versus how much I wasted. Turns out my ex shared my screen via Microsoft Skype when I went on a smoke break, recorded all my actions for the day, and then reported me to HR. I should have actually worked my hours in. I shouldn't have tried to impress my ex, and I definitely should have noticed my screen was being shared. Edit. Thank you everyone for the awards, upvotes, comments, and jokes. I didn't think the post would get this big. Pretty cool and very kind of you. Edit. Getting inboxed. I use Excel, data model, bone normal Excel formulae, export to CSV, important, and mail merge into MS Word. That's it. TLDR, I automated my job. I worked only 2 hours. I got caught and almost lost my job. I worked for a large information processor about 25 years ago. Did something similar. Our job was formatting data to comply with our online portal's standards, upload and then query the outliers. I could pretty much start at 8 AM and finish by 10 AM, then just fuck about for the rest of the day. The only problem was keeping the throughput plausible. One weekend a colleague did Saturday overtime and accidentally did about 10x what a single team could do, and the cat was out of the bag. Rofl. Imagine being promoted to a manager position and knowing what's going on, but not telling because you don't want to get fired. Never give up your secrets of the trade. If you know you're skirting the line with work, a small leak will sink a great ship. Rookie move. Never impress a new fling with your brazen rule breaking. When someone is still in the deciding if they like you phase, anything you show them can end up being used against you. Bro, if someone impresses me with this shits, I'll be like, sign me up, let's do this together. Fuck work Lamau. That ex is an idiot. Lol, 100% use that as a positive talking point on your next job interview. I got fired from my last job for doing it too efficiently. Phrase it as, I automated myself out of my previous job. I looked at what my colleagues and I were doing and how, then built automation that reduced the time needed by 2/3, from 8 hours down to about 2.5. I'm moving on because I wasn't in a position where I was going to be able to do anything similar for anything else in the company. And it's all true, not in that position because he screwed up and goofed off, but still technically true. If anything, they should pay you more to start automating everything. Yeah, fire 5 guys and make op work 8 hours a day. Edit, thanks for making this my most upvoted post of all time. Today I fucked up by not teaching my brother to do calf raises properly. I am just in awe. Last year, my brother developed an obsession with getting really meaty calves. I work out a lot, so he asked me how he can build his calves. I told him to do calf raises because that's what I do to keep my ankles in shape for point and my calves look great. How do you do those? He asks. I told him you go up on your toes repeatedly. Okay. I assumed he understood what I meant and he didn't ask me to demonstrate, so I didn't. Anyway, this dude, for a whole year, was doing them the wrong way. And I had no idea what he was doing because he always did it alone in his room. Turns out, he thought I meant to literally go on the tips of your toes. And he did like 100 every day. He recently showed me that now he can go on the very tips of his toes and run and jump around like some creepy little fucked up forest cryptid. Barefoot. No outside support. The dude's skeleton is now configured like a fucking racehorse, but 100x more creepy and unsettling because human feet are not supposed to do this. He does it all the time. His toes are jacked as fuck. It's terrifying. He's terrifying. What have I done? I feel like I've unleashed something horrible and I can't put it back. Edit, video and photo proof. Too long didn't read. Told my brother to do calf raises. He did them wrong and now he can run on the tips of his toes. It's terrifying. I started my brother's ballet career and didn't even know it. TIFU. Edit, May, keeping it. The line his toes are jacked as fuck made me laugh so hard. Tell him he should try ballet or start a band called Jacked Toes and only have musicians that have spent at least a year building fucking toe muscles. Please give a warm welcome for Jacked Toes. Band prances on stage. Bruv, I need a video of this man running on his fucking toes. Emops brother, the one mentioned in the post. We can make a follow-up post of me doing tricks. Take him to the ballet and blow his mind.